Assalamu alaikum everyone, my name's Farah Halabi and I'm a professional Muslimah life coach. I'd like to ask you, what do you do if the person in your life, if your parents, your mum or your dad, are not the people or haven't been the people that you've needed them to be? They haven't played out their roles. They haven't performed their duties. They haven't taken or exhibited that parental responsibility towards you in the way that you needed them to. What do you do with that? How do you make sense of that? How do you cope with that? And how has that affected you in later life, in your adult life, in the relationships with your own children, in the relationships that you have with others, in the relationships that you now have with them? Where do you go? How do you navigate that relationship now, feeling that they weren't the parents that they were meant to be? Not in terms of what an idealistic parental responsibility is, but the actual tenets of our faith is very, very specifically mandated. The duties and the responsibilities of a mother, of a father towards their child, if those basic and God mandated, as prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those duties and responsibilities weren't met. They weren't, you didn't feel those. You didn't have that relationship. You didn't have that from them. Where do you go from that? What do you do? Has it affected you? And this is something that has come up quite a lot in later life for a lot of the women that I work with. A lot of the women that come to me for various different issues, various different problems and challenges that they want to overcome. And they are nothing to do on the surface with their parents. Nothing to do with their childhood. They come to me with all sorts of problems and issues, whether it be in their relationships, whether it be their state of mind, how they feel, what's going on for them. The problems that they come to me with, or the challenges that are on their radar at the time that they approach me, aren't anything to do with their parents. But through the work that we do, sometimes things are uncovered. Experiences, memories are brought to the session. And when we talk about it, when that space is held, a lot comes out that they have been carrying forever, that they didn't even realise they were carrying, that they didn't even realise was a thing for them. And it is almost like twisted in the way that they see themselves now and the problems that they have with the relationships with their parents, thinking that there's something wrong with them, that there is, if they were just better children, if she was a better daughter, more respectful, more pleasing to her parents, that they'd be all right with her, that they'd be happy, that they'd be okay, that they would love her, that they would respect her, that they would see her. And when we uncover that whole interaction, that whole relationship, the way in which those roles are played out now, a lot is uncovered of past beliefs, past experiences that have formed, past the way that they thought about themselves back then, that they have now formed a belief about themselves and about their parents. And for some, the acknowledgement of that now in later life, as an adult, no longer as the child, no longer as the young person, but as the adult with a life living of their own, having the space to make their own decisions, having the space to form friendships, relationships with those people who they want, having families of their own, having a husband, having a life, having a community, having a career, a profession, a job, a business, a role that is not definitive or that does not define them the way that they define themselves as children through the eyes of their parents, who at the time were not fulfilling the rights and responsibilities that they should have been. Now, this is not with any disrespect or moaning or bagging on anyone's parents here. It's not at all. It's a space, and it's the acceptance. For a lot of the women that I work with, they have never gone there. They've never dared to go there because it's too raw. For a long time they felt it's their fault, so they couldn't go there, and they didn't want to deal with that can of worms. It's still very big taboo in our community. The subject of parental, I'm going to say it, parental abuse, of sometimes parental alienation, of the ways in which the people, the person, your mum and your dad, the ways in which the beliefs about that person, the ideas about that person, that specific role, what a mother should be, what a father should be, and how you see yourself in relation to that person, when that has been distorted, a few things happen. Rewriting of history, recalling it very, very differently to fit more comfortably with what's expected. Sometimes it's very much internalizing all of what went on to mean something that's your fault. For a lot of the women, they internalize it, they take it on board as something that was their fault, that was their doing. For others, it's avoidance, not going there, just avoiding their parents now, avoiding any kind of thinking about it. For some, it's denial. For some, it's knowing what happened, accepting what happened, but feeling they can't do anything about it now. That they are trapped in this cycle of either what's expected, how they're expected to behave to their parents now. And a lot of resentment can build up, a lot of anger can build up, and when there is no outlet to the people that you are angry and resentful towards and very confused about, when you can't vent or release that, then it comes out in other ways, either to themselves, internalizing it. And you know, when we have a lot on our mind, when we have a lot going on, our bodies break out in certain ways because there needs to be a release of that. Or it might be within their relationships they have now with their own kids, with their partners, with their friends, with their siblings, with their in their jobs, with their community. And all of that is a way of managing, it's a way of coping, it's a way of dealing with something that they know goes against, something that they know goes against how they should have been treated, how those people, specifically their mum and their dad, should have behaved towards them. And they know inherently that there was something that was not right. and they're just trying to make sense of it. And for the women that do come to me with various different issues, and along the way we uncover parental issues that they experienced, there is a space for them, a safe space, a confidential space, a non-judgmental space. And for a lot of them, for the first time in their lives, actually vocalizing, giving a voice to all of the thoughts, beliefs, opinions, assumptions that they have carried about themselves for so long. And in that space, in that safe place, healing, understanding, forgiveness, compassion, kindness, acceptance, love, seeing themselves not as being defined by that experience, seeing themselves as worthy of all the things that parents should give their children, that it was never their fault, it was never that they weren't worth it, it was never that they weren't worthy, it was never that they did anything to warrant that behaviour. And a real coming back to, returning to their essence, their fitra, their purpose. If you have been through that, if you have experienced a relationship with your parents that wasn't just challenging, but inherently you know or you feel that there is something that just doesn't align with the rights and the responsibilities, the duties and the responsibilities of a parent towards a child, and you have tried hard to make sense of that, or you've tried hard to avoid having to deal with that, but it keeps coming up in various ways, then, and you would like a space, like I said, a safe space, a confidential space, a non-judgmental space, to bring that out in the open and create a way through it, so that you're not carrying that. You don't have to work hard to deny it, to avoid it, to forget it, to carry it with you. You can release it. Then I'm here and I can help. So in the comments there'll be all the ways in which you can find me and you can message me. But if you don't, that's absolutely fine. If you don't want to right now, that's absolutely fine. But I'd like to leave you with this. If you are that person who has carried this for so long and knows inherently that there was a complete misalignment between how you should have been treated, what your rights were as a child, what you were born to have a right to, and you didn't get that because the duties and the responsibilities of your parents were not given to you. They didn't perform those duties and those responsibilities. It's not your fault. It was never your fault. It was never about you. It wasn't because of you. It wasn't anything you did. It wasn't anything about you. And that their behaviour says everything about them and what they were going through. And that you are worthy, you are whole, you are valued, you are valuable, and that you are not defined. Your worth is not defined by them. As I said, my name's Farah Halabi, and I'm a professional Muslimah life coach. And as always, I pray that you are safe, well, happy and healthy. And inshallah, I'll pop on tomorrow for another little convo. But for now, take care. Assalamu alaikum.